I begin as always in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. This video is going to be doing a review of The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 13, Alone. So, wow, this episode was amazing. So we open up, there's a with a flashback, we see how Bob Stookey is doing, what Bob Stookey was up to and where, before he joined up with Rick's group. So he's all by himself, and he's trying to survive in the woods, and then he's avoiding walkers as best he can, and then he runs into Daryl and Glenn, and then Daryl fires him with 3 questions. How many walkers have you killed? How many people have you killed, and why? And then that's a pretty good way to ask people, invite people into see if those people are trustworthy. So, and then anyways, Bob says he killed only one person, and the reason was because she asked him to. So that was really good. It opened up a bottle of worms about who was this girl, what was her relation to Bob, and stuff like that. So, and then we cut to the opening credits. We go back, and then this is very cool. Beth, we see Maggie, we see Bob and Sasha all back to back together, with their backs together, fighting walkers. It was like the Avengers. It was amazing. It was like the Avengers. It was amazing stuff. So, and we saw them fighting, and then they killed all the killed off all the walkers. And Sasha's saying they need to hold off on ammo because they only have 6 bullets left. So we pretty much see that Maggie is really, really determined on finding Glenn, and I'm like, that's really, I know you look, I'm just like thinking, Maggie, Glenn's cool, I know Glenn is your spouse and all, but you gotta realize that if you have a slim chance of finding him, and chances are you may run up into a herd, and you may wind up as toast. So, and also, why don't you go find Beth as well? Speaking of Beth, Daryl is giving Beth some tracking lessons, and she guesses that there's a walker nearby in the woods. She's right, and then they go in there. They go and they kill and Daryl kills the walker when Beth doesn't really have the option, doesn't have the chance to. So, and they find a graveyard, and they see the gravestone for her father, and she's like, and that was the guy was a good father, and Beth was there, it felt like it reminded her of her own father. So they go into the house, they take refuge there. So, and then they get down to they clear things up. They clear everything. And they clear up everything. And so we have to go back to, let's cut back to Maggie, Bob, and Sasha. Maggie, Bob, and Sasha Sasha's just trying to convince Maggie that is trying to tell Maggie that Glenn's probably gone. So, and also they set up a perimeter for them to sleep in. By the next morning, Maggie's gone, and Bob says we need to go after her and find her. So, and also Maggie decides to finds a walker. She kills it and decides to get her hands dirty with its blood. And I'm like, Maggie, what in the world are you doing? So we head back to, I should cut back to Maggie, to Bob and Sasha at this moment. Bob is, as we are walking with Bob, we kind of see the two ideals between those two. We see Bob wants to go find Maggie because he does not believe that she should be out there all alone. And I kind of agree with him. And Sasha's like, no, we need to go find resources or shelter or something like that. So and as we continue on, they come across the path across the railroad tracks that Maggie was at, and they find out Maggie. They see Maggie has written a sign for Glenn saying glad I had to turn it. Speaking of which, I need to go back to there. What? Maggie, Bob, and Sasha run across a sign saying something for sanctuary. So now they're heading to that. Sasha's all against going there. So, and now there is a, and then he's saying, and then it feels like we just realize that Sasha believes that Tyrese might be dead at that point, and then that Maggie might think that Beth is also at Terminus. So, and also what's even more, we kind of find out why Bob is so happy because this is the first time he's not alone, and that the prison may be gone, but at least he's with other people. And then we learn a little bit about Bob that all the people in his prison group are from two groups that he was passed with before were gone. So that was really good. We got a little bit more about Bob at that point. And so they're on railroad tracks. They kiss, which was awesome. I was also just feels like there's a little relationship forming between those two, and then they just had to part ways once they come across a place full of shelter. So, and then Bob continues on to go look for Maggie. So, anyways, I need to go back to Beth and Daryl. Beth and Daryl head into a house. They see lots of corpses there, and then Beth decide, and they go look for supplies, and then Beth decides to go and play a piano and sing. So, and then also they go into it. They go find a dog at the door and they kill. And then it goes off. And then a little bit later, they're about to go eat or something, and then they kill. And then seems like the dog's there, and then Daryl goes over to open it, and then there was a bunch of walkers there. So, and what proceeds next is one of the most amazing action sequences of The Walking Dead. Well, on the episode, Daryl tells Beth to run, and the lighting is dim, so we see that Daryl take out all the walkers, which was pretty cool, and then he escapes outside the house, runs past the graveyard, and then he sees that Beth has been kidnapped. And so he keeps on running after the car until he's on the street and he can't run anymore. So he sits down just a little despondent, and then he runs into some guys whom he points his arrow at. Now, I believe these are the hunters / Marauders that Rick and his group, Rick, Michonne, and Carl ran into. So these guys might be. So he has no choice but to join them, and I feel like they kidnapped. They may be the guys they will be fighting. This is getting very interesting here. So, anyways, that's the end of that part. So I'm gonna. So I'm gonna go back to Maggie. Sasha goes into a door. She goes into a house, and then she goes there, and then she falls down, and then some glass falls down, and then she realizes Maggie is there, sitting on the ground, and there are a bunch of undead people there as well. So, wow! And then we have what proceeds next is both Maggie and Sasha just fighting walkers side by side. It's amazing stuff. And then we got a little bit of interaction between them, with Maggie saying she believes that Glenn is still alive and she will keep on fighting, but she needs his help, which kind of gladdened me because at least we know she realizes she still needs people to help her with this quest. And then they find Bob, and they continue on the way. And then the episode ends with Glenn finding the sign for Terminus, and it's like, wow, it's only a matter of time before those two reunite. So, amazing episode. Very amazing. We got to learn more about Bob. His past and what he was doing before he met up with the group. We got to learn more about Sasha. We got to learn a little bit more about. We got to see some interaction between her and Maggie, which is awesome. I've always been wanting to see those two interact, and now we get to see it. And we also the flashback was amazing, very amazing. And last but not least, and also we got to see more stuff plot development between Beth and Beth being kidnapped and Daryl joining these suspicious men. So character development, action, plot developments, and interactions and this stuff. This was an amazing episode. I have to give this thing a 9.6 out of 10. All right. Can't wait for the next episode.